Well, I think I told you guys that we're going to be putting up a number of different playlists of the evolution of the cottage, of the evolution of the cottage garden, of different home tours, just all sorts of things like that that you guys have enjoyed in the past. And if you are wanting to look at some of my content while I am on sabbatical in August, then this is for you. And I know some of these are long, and that's the beauty of it. You can turn them on, you can turn them off, you can come back to them. You can only watch little snippets of them, or you can watch the whole thing if it helps keep you company over the course of the day. Sometimes I have the TV turned on, not so much to really view what's on, but just as company, like the Barefoot Contessa feels like a friend because she's just there talking in the background. So it's kind of good for that. But if you want to watch them to kind of, like me, I watch them and I look and I analyze, okay, this is what I was thinking then. Am I thinking the same thing now? You guys know I have made some changes, and you may see that I had a thought process at that point in time where I was just sure I was going to do things a certain way. And then lo and behold, I changed my mind after I had lived here for a while. Or I liked it the way that I placed it, but then I wanted to mix it up and change it a little bit. And so I maybe changed some things around. Whether it was the placement of my TV, where artwork went, different kinds of rugs.
I forgot about TV Gate.
Oh, TV Gate, right, TV Gate. The placement of rugs, where I wanted to exactly have my dining room table, what size I wanted my dining room table to be, where I wanted to locate different seating areas. A real point of contention for some people that just drives some people crazy is the fact that here in front of my window, and this is going to kind of show our work life here because it's got one of our studio lights, but is that it drives some people crazy that this sitting area isn't exactly in the middle of these diamond-shaped
Why do you have to go and point that out to me?
windows. And that drives some people crazy. Okay, why doesn't it bother me? Because to me, this isn't what I'm looking at centered in the window. It's the entirety of this whole tableau that is kind of centered and framed and in proportion to this space. So when you look back over these videos, just examine it for those kind of things. Look for where I used to have a table. I have a different table there now. I used to have this lamp there. I switched that lamp out. I used to have nothing there. Now I have something. I used to have something, and now I had nothing. And that kind of stuff is just constantly changing. Again, not because it's so special because it's mine, only because it's special because it might help you look at your spaces in a new and different way. So I hope you enjoy these playlists. They're kind of fun for us. I periodically do go back and think, oh my gosh, Linda, what were you thinking? Or would you comb your hair in the back of your head? All of those same kind of things that you guys observe. But for me, it's just a little more painful. So enjoy the process, enjoy viewing them, and we'll be back. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to my cottage on the hill. Grab your cup of coffee, your cup of tea, your chocolate milk, or your mimosa, if that's how you are rolling right now. Today, it's all about the interior of the cottage. I'm going to share lots of updates with you. Updates in my office, in the master bathroom, in my bedroom. Well, just a number of things throughout the cottage. But I want to give you a big reminder. Put it on your calendar, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, April 2nd, the day, yes, after Stuart's birthday on April Fool's Day. We're going to do a Linda Vodder Live, and I'm going to answer all of those questions, or maybe not all of them, but a number of them that you've been asking me about how I'm settling in, how I feel about it emotionally, the transition from the fairy tale house to the storybook cottage. We're going to get real. Let's talk, and we'll do that on April 2nd at around 2 o'clock. But enough of that. We've got flowers to arrange. We've got rooms to look at. What do you say, Stuart? I think we need to get started. Let's do it. Welcome to my office. as kind of a rewind, let me remind you about some of the changes that I made. We installed these Billy bookcases with a birch veneer, and I love the way they turned out. Initially, we put in these 3 tall bookcases with the extender on top. And when I say extender, that's this section up here that makes them really, I guess, grow, if you will, from this height all the way almost to the ceiling with just enough space above there for storage and some kind of decorative item. Now, I also added these side sections. These came in subsequent to our putting in the 3 tall ones, and I love the way they look because I can display things on them. So I have on both sides, so that it's symmetrical, I've got these black framed prints, and I love the way they look. And by the way, these were very inexpensive. I got these at Bed Bath & Beyond years ago, and they actually have kind of a matting around them that's intended for guests at weddings to write their well wishes around some kind of photograph. But I love the way they look, and so I just put my own prints inside them. Now, I want to give a shout out to my 2 friends that stopped by last week from West Virginia, all that way, and she gifted me a beautiful thrift store item. Look at this. More importantly, look at the plum tones in it. I love the way it looks. And she even brought some of these branches because, you know, in my garden life, I like to bring the outside in, and it holds a special place of honor right here. I just do love it. And then I've actually kind of taken the time to style the rest of the bookcases. I've still got a little bit of zhuzhing to do, but I think overall they don't look too bad. I've got my garden journal displayed out pretty prominently and in a location that's just at writing height. So I can come in here and I can record day to day what's going on. Not a lot's been going on because I haven't had a lot in to record of what's in bloom because there's nothing in bloom here. We're still waiting, aren't we, Stuart?
Yes.
But that also tells me that I need to remind you about the fact that I'm going to have a new garden journal that's going to be coming out in April. This is a 10-year version. Mine is going to be a 5-year version, and it will be just the right size and a companion piece to the Elegant and Edible Garden. And it really will just give you a place to record all of those things that I felt were important to record in the evolution of a garden. And I'm so excited to start my new garden journal as I start my new garden. And by the way, Stuart, if you want to just slowly torque your camera, look out there, just outside the window. Your Chinese, no, wrong window,
Nope.
Stuart.
Oh,
the Chinese,
my guy.
yeah,
My guy.
your Chinese snowball viburnum. Look there.
There.
They're turning that wonderful limey green I love so much. And yes, I will give a tutorial on how I prune it up. That was one of the questions one of you followers had, and it's almost impossible for me to answer everybody's questions. So what I'm going to try to do is just highlight a few that you have asked me that have come in more than once, and I'll address those. And of course, next week when we do our live, you can ask me almost anything you want to. Now, as I was styling my office, I guess in general, I came upon these absolutely gorgeous, you may have seen them yourselves, these trailing jasmine, blooming jasmine at Trader Joe's. They are in full bloom right now, and look at all of these buds. But what I love about it is it's got that plum color echo that I think looks great in my office. And then I've also got some topiary over here that is just trying to kind of get its spring groove on because, you know, they really want to be outside.
Yeah.
So I am starting to feed them now gently, and then before too long, we've got about not quite 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks to our last frost date, which is April 15th. So I'm always keeping that in mind. Now, Stuart, right behind you over here is another one of these gorgeous jasmine. Is that not just spectacular?
Very spectacular.
And last year,
it really is pretty.
After they
Looks like it
finished,
exploded.
after they finished blooming, I planted these in the urns on my front porch. Here's an answer to a question a number of you had, and that was, what was the book that I had in my office where I showed the vignette that was an inspiration for the patio out front. And it's William Yoward's At Home. And I will put a link. This is a gentleman who passed fairly recently, and he's got a whole line of books that are just really, really wonderful about entertaining, I think maybe about decorating, and I just love them. They have a wonderful disposition to them. And then this is,
oh, wow.
Yeah, that is the picture that I had as my muse for the patio up front. And pretty soon, hopefully, mine will be as profuse and blooming and ebullient as this is. Now, this leads me to a tip, and my first tip of the day. And that is one thing I have noticed in the cottage as I was going through and weaning out so many of my books. And a lot of them were like old friends that I just hadn't visited in a while. Some of them were fairly new books that I just hadn't had time to go through them. So what I've decided to do is around the cottage, I have just staged some of these. In this case, it's a cookbook holder. And I love it because it matches the color of the bookshelf,
yeah,
Stuart. Did you
nice.
notice that? And the floor. And I can leave it in here with whatever is kind of my inspirational book for the week, whether it's about garden design or flower arranging or interiors or whatever. And I can leave it here. And then throughout the course of the day, as just a little gift to myself, I can just thumb through the pages. And if I come across one or two images that really speaks to me, I can then open it at that page and I can secure it. And that way, if I don't have time to sit down for, 30 minutes, an hour to look through a book, I nevertheless get just a little tiny moment where I can take a mindful breath and I can look at something beautiful that I already have. Now, these books, I think probably you can get them used or new. And I will try to put up a link, but they're wonderful and for pennies, for less than the price sometimes of a magazine, you can have a beautiful book that inspires you too. Now, going around the office over here to my bulletin board, well, slowly but surely, I'm beginning to fill up my 2 inspiration bulletin boards. So as I go through my tear sheet files, as I find things that are really, a lot of you ask, well, where do I get my inspiration? Well, I may not have any new ideas. It may just be something that I have stolen from some resource that I have previously referenced. It might be a magazine, it might be a book or whatever. And a lot of times, if they're a tear sheet, for example, it will end up on this bulletin board, particularly things that are ideas for the current season or the coming holiday. So that leads me into my question of the day. I am someone who still likes to look at magazines. I have tear sheets from years ago. I bet you do too. So my question is, how do you corral all of those magazine tear sheets, all of those ideas on paper? What is the way? Tell me how you organize them, because I'm constantly struggling with that. And maybe later on in this show, or maybe next week, I'll show how I share some or how I store some of mine. But how do you wrangle all of those ideas that come in tear sheet form? Well, I've got a couple of them here that are giving me some ideas for things I might want to do for my Easter tablescape. But this one in particular is very similar. Does that look familiar to you, Stuart? Does that kind of look like the flower arrangement we did last week?
It does.
This was the flower arrangement that I had in my head. I hadn't seen this picture for a while, but I saw it and I referenced it as I was composing the flower arrangement I did for last week. And then I've got my inspiration for this week also right here. We may have to take images
We'll
of
get
these
shots
later
of it,
because
yeah.
it's probably kind of glary. But when I want to replicate something, or there's a tonal quality that I really like, a color palette that I really like, I can put that on my inspiration board. That's a no-brainer. I'm not the first person to think of that, but it might be a little treat for yourself. If you too come up with some kind of mood board or a place where you can visually access lots of different ideas that you've accumulated over the years. And then for those of you who haven't seen it, I've also got the copy of my front landscaping plan that I reference periodically, because sometimes I just need to see it visually so that I can remember what my overall design vision was and my design thrust. So that kind of leads me into these flower arrangements. So how about we take a break here and go to the kitchen?
Let's do it.
Stuart, look, here is another one. I told you that I'd placed these in and around the cottage, and here's another one on an old book stand that used to belong to my second mom, and I keep this one in the hallway. This is a different type of book, but it gives me ideas for how I like to decorate the interior of the cottage. And the nice thing is, because I'm not looking at the book in its entirety, I can then just take one image, for example, this page or this bifold page, and I can deconstruct what it is that appeals to me, and then I can just take that vignette and I can try to recreate it someplace else, or even just one component of it. Okay, guys. The kids are acting up at the back of the class, and I need to rein them in. My Matt, our secondary photographer, is here with Stuart. He's coming in to help us out today. Thank you, Matt. But you guys you just need to cut it out.
Hey,
I need to put on my school mom face. So I wanted to show you this. I wanted to revisit this flower arrangement that I put together last week, inspired by this image that was from a tear sheet from many, many years ago. And even though the flowers are completely different, the color palette, the textures, and the overall vibe, I think, is very much the same. So you don't have to replicate something exactly from your tear sheet or from your inspiration point. You just kind of have to get the thematic of it and the aura of it. And I think that it can beautifully, beautifully translate. Now, these are those Ostromeria and the Ranunculus that I used last week, but you can see they're starting to fade a bit. I can probably reduce this down to a smaller bouquet like I did with the one last week, and those lime green carnations. So I'm going to do that, and I'm also going to steal the container then to reuse this week for my new arrangement. So let's talk about daffodils, because this is the new inspiration image, which would be beautiful, I think, for Easter, but just let's say even prior to Easter right now. And sadly, I don't have any daffodils of my own to cut, because, as you know, I have moved from the fairy tale house to the cottage on the hill, and I'm thrilled about it, but I am also mourning the loss of some of the things that I had in my old garden that I could cut, and one of them was some daffodils. So I went to Trader Joe's this morning on my Friday flower foray, which is my new treat to myself to help me kind of make it over the hump of my garden in transition until I have a garden of my own. Now let's talk a little bit about daffodils. So many of you comment and have asked me, when you get them from Trader Joe's, or maybe from your grocery store, multiple sources, your farmer's market, when you get them, they're not in water like these are now. They are dry cut, and they are just in a bucket with dry stems like this. Now, if you buy a daffodil bouquet and the buds are still very, very tight and showing some green, like most of these, then they can last in the vase for up to 10 days, but you do want to do some conditioning first. And here's how you get them to last as long as possible. So when I got these home from Trader Joe's, what I did was I just cut off about 1 inch of them. And what that does, by putting them in water, it starts kind of forcing the blooming process, but it also encourages them to drain out the sap from their stalks. And the stems contain kind of a toxic sap that, if you combine with other flowers, can decrease the life of, say, tulips or other flowers that you might want to compose along with the daffodils. I very, very infrequently put daffodils with anything else because I just love the voluptuous quality of having them all in abundance. And so that is what I'm going to do in my floral bouquet with this as my inspiration point. So first what I need to do, so this is the sausage making that I think you guys kind of like to watch. So out of this tree trunk, which I showed you last week, is a hollowed out tree trunk. You can make your own. So let's deconstruct the flower arrangement from last week and construct the flower arrangement for this week. And this is how this Alstroemeria, this pink profusion bouquet came together. And you can see all of that was just in, is that a quart size? Quart size
looks about like
plastic leftover container. So I'm going to set these aside, and I will repurpose some of those flowers later by recutting the stems. But now I have my bare trunk. And I always think that whenever possible, you arrange your flowers by candlelight. These are these are the wonderful thrift store finds. These are IKEA candle holders that I got at one of our thrifting adventures. I think you were there with me, Stuart. And by the way, we have got to go thrifting again. I've been so busy here at the cottage that I haven't been thrifting for a while. So I need to scratch that itch. Okay, so I digress. back to my daffodils. So you can see that this is hollowed out in the center. And I have a fresh quart container of water that I have already, well, maybe I haven't. Let me think back. What have I done, Linda? This is why you need to be more mindful as your I need to be more Japanese and be more mindful in my flower arranging, I guess. Ikebana, is that what that is?
That
Japanese
right,
flower
right.
arranging?
Yeah.
Okay. So I did not put any of this flower food in there. So I did this time, and typically when you get flowers, you will get flower food with them. And you don't have to have it, but I think anecdotally it has helped in increasing the lifespan of these daffodils. Okay, I was looking for something and I don't see it, so I'm just going to move on. Now, if I was going to arrange these in accompaniment with these other flowers, and by the way, it would be gorgeous. Wouldn't the arrangement be gorgeous with these daffodils and the rest of these blooms that have very much a tone-on-tone quality to them? And if I wanted to do that, here's the trick. I would cut my bunch of daffodils. I would let the sap run out. I would come back a little while later. I would put fresh water in there and I would cut them again. And that way I make sure that all of that sap exudes out of them before I begin to arrange them. But these, since I'm going to arrange them all together in one big cheerful happy family, I don't have to worry about that quite so much. So as you can see, this fits in here, and it just exposes a little bit of the plastic rim. This makes it nice, however, so when I have to come back later and I'm replenishing the water, I've got easier access to this than if it were really recessed all the way and flushed with the top of this container. So now all I have to do is just take these, and I'm probably, even though I've cut these once, I am going to snip them once again just to help improve their water uptake. Now remember, these are going in and they're not in full form. They're not in full bloom. And they're not freshly cut from my garden. But if I had cut these from my garden, I would do the same thing. I would condition them the same way that I'm conditioning these. Now daffodils, unlike some of these other cut flowers that I have, these don't have any additional leaves or additional foliage or greenery that would decrease the lifespan of the arrangement if some of that foliage was underneath the water, was submerged, because that could lead to some kind of bacterial issues that would decrease the life of the bouquet. But these, all of the leaves have already been removed, and it's already looking happy. And you know what? I don't know why, but I just had a flash of a Winnie the Pooh here in the 100-acre wood,
That's
Matt.
kind of cool.
What do you think?
We know about Winnie the Pooh.
Oh yes, you do. Deep in the 100-acre wood where Christopher Robin plays. Okay, I'm having kid flashbacks. So last week I was going through all of my children's books, and I had already squirreled away those that were very, very precious to my boys. I probably told you all this before. Very precious to my boys that they wanted to keep. But then I had an abundance of extra ones. So rather than take them to Goodwill, what did we do, Matt?
We gave them to my son Jacob, who loved them.
Who loved them.
He loves them.
And you said that last night he went to bed with one of the 3D dinosaur books.
Pop-out book.
A pop-out book.
Slept with it.
And he slept with it.
Slept in his bed with it.
I have often slept with my books. Now I can already tell that even though this is going to be very pretty having these all in here, that I'm going to need some kind of cascading something.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that will hide the edge. Stuart, you intuited that too.
Well, I
did
thought
you
it, I
not?
thought people were probably thinking it too.
Yeah. Yes. Because you too are a member of our viewing audience,
Yep.
are you not?
I'm watching it right now.
Okay.
So meta.
Yeah. Now, again, as these fill out, there'll be a lot more volume, and that will also help cover this. But there's a couple of different tricks that I can use, which we may tap into a little bit later.
What do you think you'll use? Is that what you were just saying?
I'm thinking as I'm composing.
Uh-huh.
So while I'm doing this, why don't we give everyone a break? They can take a potty break or a coffee break or whatever, and when they come back, I will have the solution to my dilemma of what am I going to use around the rim. Well, I came up with a solution, which, by the way, I had not come up with before I got to that stage of the container, and I realized it needed to be camouflaged.
We keep it real here.
Yeah, we keep it real here. You guys, as I've often said, you get to see my uglies before the pretties. But it also, I think, is informative and instructive. And okay, how does something come together? So what I decided to do was use some of this dried grass and also some dried reindeer moss. You can buy this stuff at any kind of craft store, at Michael's, at probably Walmart. Some of this stuff you could probably forage from your own backyard, and it will be equally as pretty and even more fresh. But what I did was I pulled it out of this little storage cube. A lot of times you seem to want to know and are curious about where I store all of my things. Well, in this case, I store my floral supplies that I'm accessing frequently in just this tub. You can see I've got this kind of stuff in here. I've got some of I've showed you these before, my chicken wire, my flower cages, all of the flower food, any kind of floral arranging accoutrement I keep in here. At least the stuff that I'm going to access pretty frequently and fairly quickly. I've got reserves in the basement, but I think this is looking pretty. So here's all I'm doing is I'm just taking a wad of this. WAD being the official language.
The official language.
Of floral arranging. Yes, yes, yes. And I'm just tucking it in any place where that plastic container meets the trunk, the tree trunk. And I think it looks very woodland, and it looks very much as if, I'm getting all of these guys, I have to give them a little hiccup, what I call a hiccup. The ones that are shorter, I kind of like them to look as if they're at different lengths. But as I was driving home from Trader Joe's, I noticed, and by the way, this is not sponsored by Trader Joe's or anything. It's just, it happens to be where I got my flowers this time. But as I was driving home, I noticed that there were so many cheery bouquets of daffodils, and I just thought they looked so sweet. And I think this will very much simulate that look of how daffodils look in nature. What do you think, gentlemen?
Yeah, very spring.
Do you concur?
Yes.
And then again, because this container, you can see right there, this container is pretty much high above this surface. It will make it very easy for me to access and water it, because these, especially initially, are really going to soak up the water. I love this decorative little watering can. I've had it for years. My friend Elaine gave it to me. And what I love about it is it's got this very thin arched spout. So it is perfect for adding water to arrangements like this. I can get over the lip of the container and into the container with just the right amount of water without too much. I had a little disturbance there, but without too much of making a fuss for these flowers. And then all I have to do is just tuck that moss back in. And I think it's really, really pretty. And then I will just stage this where I want it to live. And as these daffodils continue to open, I think it's really, really going to be spectacular. And looks very springy, very Eastery, and very much reminiscent of my inspiration pick.
It really does.
Now for another update in another part of the house. Well, one of the reasons I love what I do is because I meet so many incredible people, virtually or in person. Well, one of my virtual friends, and I do believe I can now count him as a friend, is a gentleman that has been corresponding with me recently, and I'm just going to absolutely mispronounce your name. I am sure. Brecht, B-R-E-C-H-T, but you can definitely find him on Instagram, and his account is just wondrous. I have fallen in love with it. I've done a deep dive into his garden across the pond. It's really, really beautiful. He has so many elements of his garden that speak to my love for boxwood and hellebores and kind of a Scandinavian vibe. I absolutely adore it. And he has been so kind and has sent me some pictures and some renderings and things that have been inspired by the rendering that we did originally of the landscape plan of the cottage itself, and then he also did a charming exterior pic of the cottage. Anyhow, just lovely, just lovely. Thank you so much. But we will definitely put his URL, his profile below, so that you can follow him too. And just a big shout out to him for his generosity and his kindness. I look forward to working together with him in the future, maybe for a garden tour or something of that nature. But back to the garden, because even though it is rainy and wet and yucky out and we're not mucking around in the mud, nevertheless, if you live a garden life or a garden inspired life, you always have the garden on your mind. And I have it on mine, and I have all sorts of plans for seeding some of the plants that I had at the other house here in the garden. Now, so many of the beds aren't prepared yet, so it's not really worth my time to go in and scatter a bunch of seeds a la, Johnny Appleseed, and then have all of that torn up when we do the soil amendment. But there are a number of them that I have been able to seed in and around the patio, in between some of the pavers, in between the brick, in between the gray flagstone. And I've been doing that with some of this really sweet. Let me see if I can, I'm trying to get some here for you. You can see how fine it is. This golden feverfew, tanacetum. And the reason I could do that is because that area is kind of already prepped the way it's going to be. And I'm hoping that I get a number of little golden seedling darlings that will be coming up in between those stones. I also have some poppies here. I've got larkspur, I've got Minoan lace, I have all sorts of different things. I've got some Verbena bonariensis, I've got some forget-me-nots that my friend Chelsea gifted to me. And all of these, I'm not saying this is absolutely the optimal time in the spring for self-seeders or for me as the self-seeder to seed. Okay, yeah, that was a
mind twist.
That was
right?
a mental twist. For me as the gardener to seed, this isn't necessarily the optimal time in my zone, but nevertheless, I want these to start populating and start getting established. And so we're having pretty reliable rains. So as soon as I can, I'm gonna be out there seeding a lot more of these flowers that I think will be very, very crucial to my look of a cottage garden and things that I have loved at my previous home. So I'm bringing a little bit of that place, a little bit of the fairy tale garden into this storybook cottage at the cottage on the hill. So I just wanted to let you know that I haven't gotten out of the garden completely. It's just kind of a muddy mess out there, Stuart.
It's a little wet.
Yeah, but I promised a few more updates inside. So let's go to the back of the house and the laundry room. Well, Stuart, this may not be the sexiest of updates, but it has proven to be so functional, and I've really been surprised at how well this has worked out. So we are now standing in my laundry room area. That still needs a lot of work. I have visited with a consultant at Lowe's, and they're going to be doing some built-ins. And by the way, how that works is you can schedule, and this is not a sponsored post, you can schedule a consultation with a designer at Lowe's, and you could give them the measurements of the space that you are wanting to work with, and then they can virtually design something for you based on how it will work for you, your desires. And then I, of course, provided him an image. And Stuart, I think we can show that image here of what we ended up with based on some of my specifications. So you can see here that this is all just a blank wall, with the exception of my Andy Warhol prints that hung in my kiddos' rooms when they were little. But this area has no storage in it. This is a stackable washer and dryer. I am buying the stacking kit. This will stack, and then I will have built-in cabinetry above here. That will be pre-painted to match the color of the island in my kitchen. This will also have a very slender broom closet. It will have an area where I can hang some of my delicate things, and then also a folding section. So this will have a much more completed, much more sophisticated look that will be really just perfect for the scale and the quantity of laundry that I do, because now I'm an empty nester and I don't need that huge laundry room anymore. Now, I did need some kind of storage area where I could put those things that I will be using until that new storage area is complete. And that may be a couple of months, 2 to 3 months. And in the meantime, I have been using this kind of rather, I don't want to say ingenious, but very, very handy storage mechanism. So what I did was I bought these two rattan bookcases, and I thought, or bookshelves rather, and I thought they would go in my living room, but they were too small. Happily and serendipitously, they fit beautifully on this wall in here. And then I ordered just a bunch of these canvas cubes that fit in here perfectly. And I got out my little label maker, my trusty label maker, and I just labeled all of the different things. Now, some of them, for example, I've got one down here that I call my toolbox. I have a much larger toolbox that's in my basement that contains, I mean, everything you would want in a toolbox. But the bare necessities, those things that I use on an almost daily basis, hammers, nails, screwdriver, I can keep in this canvas tote. And canvas cube. And what I like about it is that if I've got something small, or I've got, just a battery or something like that, I don't even have to open them up and take them out of where they're living inside of these bookshelves. I can just tuck it in here. And it's been much more successful than I would have thought in terms of ease and storage and just functionality that I would have expected. So much so that I'll probably keep this here like this even after I get the new built-ins. So what do you think, Stuart?
I think it's pretty handy.
Pretty handy. It's a shallow profile. Even Hubs has been able to use them and figure out my storage system because everything is kind of arranged in alphabetical order. I especially like this one called Jamie Stuff.
Jamie Stuff.
Just Jamie Stuff. Yeah, just the stuff of life goes that I don't know what to do with, that belongs to him, goes in here. And here, of course, you can see here's my floral container, and this one gets used.
That one.
Yeah, this one gets used almost on a daily basis. So that's just a little bit of update. Like I say, not too sexy, folks, but I think that sometimes small is beautiful, and for me, I think this is going to be just the ticket. Now let's move on. Well, welcome to the primary bedroom. I guess you're not supposed to say master bedroom anymore. This is the primary bedroom. And I've made a couple of changes that I wanted to share with you and also ask another question of the day. So I've got my bedding on my bed is reversible, and I can obviously reverse it from one side to the next. And I think I just like that. I like the flexibility of it, but I also like the fact that then without even buying new bedding, I can change seasonally my sheets, my shams, my bed covers. I can change them seasonally without incurring additional expense. So that's my question of the day for you. As the seasons change, as we're going into spring, are you changing out the look of your bedroom, whether it's your bedroom or really any of your living spaces? Are you putting on new slip covers? Are you putting away throws and bringing out more springy time throws? What do you do to kind of seasonally turn over some of the decor items in your house? Now, let me proceed, I guess, with a very few changes that I've made. But starting with, someone had asked me, okay, where did you end up putting that gorgeous orchid arrangement? And even though I think we did a segment on it, so many people weren't sure. And this is that beautiful orchid arrangement that I made with Phoebe, darling Phoebe at Calvert's. It is still going strong, and I absolutely love it. And I also, I was thinking last night that there are, it's become almost cliche. You get a glass of wine, you take a bath, you light your candles, and it's how you show yourself loving care and self-care at the end of the day. And it sounds so cliche, but you know what? It's true. And it's not so much because you're lavishing care on yourself as much as it is you're kind of just beautifying segments of your life and segments of your day. So in the evening, sometime in the afternoon, if I'm here by myself and it's cool and it's cold out, I will light all of my candles, and I'll set a timer on my phone to remember to blow them out. But it is such a simple thing, and why not do it? Mm-hmm. Right, Stuart? I mean, again, it is kind of cliche, but so many people read about it, but do they really practice it? And so I really try to do that because I have found that it's very satisfying, almost sensual for me to strike a match and light my candles. So I do that. And last night, drum roll please, I have shared with you the ongoing issue.
Can't do a drum roll with my mouth.
Okay, can't do a drum roll. Well, I've shared with you the ongoing issue that I have had with my bathroom tub faucet. and getting hot water out of it. And this may be a little plumbing tip that will be helpful to you as well. So as a little bit of history, I had 3 different plumbers come out to try to get me hot water to my fancy new freestanding tub with the standalone faucet that goes to the tub, and I just couldn't get hot water there. Well, finally, the 3rd plumber, after I went to some unnecessary expense to buy a whole new faucet assembly, finally figured out what the issue was and shared it and fixed it, and so now I can finally take a hot bath. So, number 1, let me address so many of your concerns, which I respect, about having privacy because this bathroom is on the front part of the house. Well, number 1, we did our test, didn't we, Stuart?
We did.
To make, or I should better say my husband did the test.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the test was
at
done.
night with the blinds down, you could see anything inside. You could see any kind of silhouette or whatever. And no, you could not. So this is definitely a shade that I can automatically, with a battery operated remote, put up or put down, and it does block any kind of visibility into the bathroom at night. But if I also want privacy from the bedroom into the bathroom, if we've got guests or something that might be roaming around out in the hall, and since this used to be a porch, I can just open or close these sliding porch doors that are mirrored beveled glass on the back side or front side, depending on which way you're standing. And I just really, really like that, because in the evening I do like to shut this all up, light my candles, and do that movie thing where you get a glass of wine and you light your candles and you get in a bubble bath, because I just think that's a little bit of heaven. So here was the issue with the tub. I thought it was the faucet. I completely exchanged out the faucet assembly. Still no hot water, which was very, very frustrating to me. This time, however, there were 2 plumbers. One plumber was used to working on old houses, and the other plumber was used to working on new construction. And it was the new construction plumber that had the answer to this dilemma. And that was, it wasn't the regulator in the mechanism of the faucet itself, because we had taken out the regulator and I still couldn't get any hot water. It wasn't anything wrong with the way it was connected to the internal plumbing of the house itself. What it was a factor of was something called a mixer. And it is a little gray device. I believe they called it a mixer, that's underneath my sink.
Plumbing tips with Linda Vaughn.
Yeah, plumbing tips. I'm probably just really brutalizing that. But there's something, I believe he called it a mixer, that really, apparently new construction has to have, so that it can regulate the temperature coming out of the faucets to prevent scald. And I guess it was somehow adjusted so that it didn't apply to the tub. And once we set that, voila, magically, I was able to take a hot bath that I have been waiting to do for 2 months now in my fancy new bathroom. So a little bit about the decorating that's in process here. Over this long, very narrow console table, which we will put a link to. I've showed it to you before. It used to live in the office at the Fairy Tale House. But over this table, I am going to have a whole matrix, a whole gallery wall of photographs, which will be very symmetrically and very clearly aligned, like you see in some books and maybe in your own home. But it will be a spectacle of nothing but her gorgeous photographs, which will be so fun for the 2 of us to go through and very carefully select and curate which ones from her beautiful photography that I want to use in this space. And they will all be framed identically and then hung in a gorgeous grid that will absolutely consume this wall. It will be very, very special for me, and I think very beautiful. And then I also want to get a swivel chair that I will have in here, probably covered in terry cloth or something. I think I've mentioned that before. I have not gotten it yet. That's something that I'll probably buy locally and will be on the look for. I want a really beautiful rug to go in here. This one is just kind of a placekeeper until I find exactly what I want. And then of course I'll be bringing in some more plants. You can see over here, I've got a gorgeous orchid in here, one of my battery operated lights, and my shower cap that I've got here on the vanity that I think is really beautiful. And then I'm going to mention this again because heretofore, this just about blew Matt's mind.
Yes.
My toothpaste tabs that you chew and then you brush your teeth with to prevent all of that messy toothpaste tube yuckiness that is just ubiquitous in your bathrooms, and I can't stand it. And especially if you have little ones, or if you just have anyone that isn't real fastidious, and who amongst us is, with their bath,
I'm the worst.
with their toothpaste tube. It's really hard. So this has solved that dilemma, and we will put a link to those below. I've showed them before. And yes, I think in the community tab, I showed you guys how I was going to bring my candelabra into my bathroom. This is that one that I thrifted years ago. And what's fun, for me anyway, is that you can see that there's no candles in here because I burned them down to the nubs last night as I was taking my bath. So that, with my candlelight, with my orchids, with some recovering topiaries, it really just was the perfect end to the perfect day because I got to just do nothing but piddle in my own home. It was really, really fun. And I haven't had that opportunity in a very long time as I live my own garden-inspired life. You go out and live yours. Well, step into my storybook cottage, if you will. But before you come inside, I promise I will give you the source for those, again, so many people have asked, and I will give you the source again. Now, it is high noon.
It is bright.
And it is bright and it is hot outside as you step into the cool of the air conditioning. Come in, Stuart. Come in, all of you followers, into my cottage. And Stuart, this is where we have to explain that if we were in charge of continuity, like on movies, there's a person that's in charge of continuity, and they would be appalled at the fact that it's, number one, it is, like I say, it's high noon, and I've got candles lit, and I've got things set as if it's evening time, but I wanted to do that intentionally, not out of affectation, but because I want you to see the potential charm that this cottage holds for entertaining at various times of day, but specifically in the evening. So if you were coming and knocking on my door, and by the way, Stuart, it's right here that I want to insert the picture of the vision I have for the front door, because it remains not touched, and I do want to make some modifications on it. That's my first question of the day. I have a whole bunch of them for you, and let me know what you think. And by the way, it will remain in black. It will not be blue like the image that we're going to show you. So, welcome to the parlor. Now, I can't remember, Stuart, what it looked like the last time that
I know, right? I don't fully remember what we showed
that I
last
kind
year.
of gave people a tour, or maybe I gave them a tour of just portions of it. But it has evolved, and nothing is ever finished, but I would call it almost finished. And I want to talk a little bit about the things that made the cut, that the selection committee decided needed to stay in the parlor or in the front room. What I have found is because the light is absolutely so incredible in here that we're really drawn in the morning and at certain times of day, definitely to this room. And I would say of all of the furniture in my home, you know what probably gets the most use? These two chairs, or at least when I have guests. Because imagine, if you will, that you came to my door and we needed to have a short meeting, or we needed to visit, or you were upset about something, or I was upset about something, and we just needed a cup of tea and a little chat, maybe a peach Bellini, then typically we would sit at this table. It's especially yummy in the wintertime when all of the south sun comes through these incredible diamond windows, which was probably one of the major selling points of the cottage for me. I absolutely love them, and I just love this little spot here. It was a vignette that I kind of created almost as soon as we moved in, and I love it. And it is where I sometimes am looking at my phone when I have to do work on my phone, or when I am planning something for the day in the morning with a cup of coffee. This spot gets lots of use. Now, I want to give a shout out on a couple of different things. This beautiful flower arrangement is compliments of, what is the grocery store again? Uptown Grocery Store. I believe it was put together by a young woman at the store on May Avenue, and she composed this. And look at this, you guys. Look at this chapeau. Look at this hat.
I saw this when I came in.
Is this not incredible? Really, I needed it in time for the Kentucky Derby or the coronation. But both of these were put together by a talented florist at Uptown Market in celebration and in recognition of the Gatewood Garden Tour, which was yesterday here in Oklahoma City. They had a tremendous turnout. I was the keynote speaker, and it was so fun. And thanks. If any of you attended, please make sure to comment below, and thank you so much for your neighborhood support. And a special shout out to my friend Patricia, who put this all together and really shows up for her neighborhood, for her community, and for the gardening public. And I so appreciate that. Okay, so a few more things. Most of this furniture I had before we came to the cottage. It was at the other house. But let me tell you which few pieces were not. So a lot of you have asked about my settee. And yes, when something looks like this, it very much is a settee. And it's extremely comfortable.
All right, what's a settee?
A settee is just a small sofa.
Okay, there we go. I need to know.
love seat. But when it looks like this and it's got these tufted details on it, I think it deserves to be called a settee. This was a splurge for me with the approval of John Turman, my friend who helped me with some of the decorating details, decorating decisions, particularly the more substantial ones, the ones that I consider to be investment pieces. He and I decided that this settee from our house was just perfect, and I loved it. It took a while to get here, but I think very much it was worth the wait. The other, I'm trying to think if there's really any other new pieces in here. For the most part, Stuart, there are not. Most of my floor lamps I had at the other house, and I just have updated them with some new linen shades. Is that a little fly there? Yes. With some new linen shades. This one I will provide a link to, and we're going to try to put together a whole list of sourcing information for things that I use to decorate the cottage. If, as I always do, I forget a specific link or a source, or I don't know what it is, or it's something that was handed down to me, then just shoot me a comment and I will let you know. And by all means, always comment, you guys, because your information has been so valuable to this community. I cannot tell you, and especially recently to me. And if you're a new subscriber, welcome to the cottage. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, blah, 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 hit the like button, and share with anybody anybody who you think might like this content.
How long have those Terra hydrangeas?
Okay, these Terra hydrangeas, are these not incredible?
I think I've
So-
run into them about 50 times.
You have, but the thing is that they have such integrity when they dry, because these came from the Terra hydrangea that was planted at my other house. That, by the way, I did bring with me, and I'm gonna do a Southern Living Plant Collection roundup probably later this week, and I'm going to let you know how they all perform. But this is a Terra hydrangea, and yes, I did schlep these over from the other house to here, and now they're in a location. Stuart, have you noticed that you can't bump into them?
I won't bump into them here, and I have found pieces of this in my pockets when I got home before.
Well, I can't help it. I like them. And it's just, it's a great inexpensive way
It's
to
really
bring
cool,
flowers and things into your home. And I love their russet color, which I think resonates with the color palette
Yeah,
that I have here at the
that
cottage.
color is just so insane.
Yeah, don't you love the complexity of this? So we will definitely show some in their fresh live form outside. But for right now, just enjoy them in their dried state. Something else that I brought from the other house, but that I changed. My brother-in-law, my husband's brother, was a naturalist, and he had a fabulous butterfly collection, and it was very near and dear to us. And I had these reset and reframed by Frame Masters in Edmond, and I think they did a marvelous job.
They did a good job, yeah.
They really did a good job, and I love them because they mean something to me. As I said, he was kind of a scientist slash naturalist, and those were part of his legacy, and I love that. The chest is one that I had. I updated it with some new pulls, at least on the bottom. And this is just a wonderful little storage unit for me. So I can put some things in here. I can keep whatever I want. I can keep candles, entertaining things, cocktail napkins as such in here. And then I have just a few. You guys know that I'm trying to get into, or I am getting into blue and white a little bit more, but not as an obsession. I just want very curated pieces that I find that may be old, that may be new, that might be expensive, that might be inexpensive, and that will kind of infuse this space with a little more brightness, because blue is bright to me, and a lot of my other spaces in the past did not have it. Some of the other things, okay, I have to point these out because these are new acquisitions.
Oh, yeah.
I got these, and I will, maybe in the community tab or in another video, I will put up some of the stills that I took at a wonderful little shop in Alexandria called Manse, M-A-N-S-E. And these were some of the things. You guys know I am a taper candle kind of girl. And this candle snifter, I bought one for myself, and I also bought a set for a dear friend of mine, because I just love the fact that they are good looking, that they're simple, but they also speak of that colonial aesthetic that I like so much. And then these, Stuart, you may wonder what these are. Well, this is, I don't know if I'm tall enough to get that right now, but this is a wick snipper.
Here, show them what it looks like on
Yeah.
the end here. Put your hand behind it so we can focus. Here.
Okay.
Put it in front of my hand. There we go.
And that snips your wick. And it's a wick snipper. And the reason that that's important is because, like here, when your wicks get a little bit too long, then they get smoky, and they can be a little bit more of a fire hazard. So I'm going to snuff both of those. But I do love them because they are next door to these fabulous, they're either Globemaster or Gladiator alliums. Now, believe it or not, I had these at my other house, and they had really started to take hold there, but then I moved. So I'm going to have to replant a lot of them this fall from my favorite bulb source color blends. But aren't these spectacular? So where did I get them, you ask? Well, believe it or not, I got them at Trader Joe's. I know this is not a Trader Joe's ad, but I found them at Trader Joe's. They were $4.99 a stem, but well worth it. And I anticipate that they will also dry, so I'll get even more longevity out of them. So I just loved them. And then I have just married them with a couple leaves from a philodendron that I have as a house plant. So I love it. And then this vase, which you have seen before, was a thrifted find.
With the smoky glass, yeah.
Yeah, so you know, like I say, style need not be expensive. Some sources of some other things, and again, this isn't, it's just because I want to point out these things because I think they're beautiful, but I know you'll ask, where did I get them? And I love these needleworked pillows, and I got these off of eBay. They were Pottery Barn shams, and I just got the coordinating feather filler for them that I got online. But I just love these. I've got a couple of them, and they're good, and they're squishy, which I like and Hubs likes. And then just a couple of other appointments. Now, one thing that I did, and this was a question I had for you earlier, do you sometimes switch out your accessories seasonally? And yes, I do. And these, I love these pillow shams, and I got these at Mockingbird Manor. You guys know that's one of my favorite places to shop in Oklahoma City. I got these at Mockingbird Manor, and they just give kind of a summery feel. I think the blue and white gives it kind of a summery vibe. And prior to that, I had some velvet pillows, which I will use once it starts getting cool again. But I really like this whole kind of montage that I've got going. Now, I would be remiss if I did not point out this fabulous bulb, because
Such a cool
Stuart,
thing.
you remember that when a very, very large trunk was felled off of my, well, it's not mine anymore, but a beloved oak tree in the front yard at the Fairy Tale House. I then was so fortunate to have an artisan who made this bowl for me. And what an incredible job he did. So that is
really
truly,
well done, yeah.
truly a treasure. You may notice that the olive tree that I have in the corner is one that I overwinter every year in a friend's greenhouse. It's in a faux concrete pot, which I think we did a video on that, Stuart. We need to put a link to that. A video on how to transform a lightweight plastic pot into faux concrete. And this is, actually, it's one of the sweet olives that I had in the greenhouse. Now, what I do, because all of these plants really want to be outside, I have four, actually. I have 4 different olive trees, and I just kind of rotate them in and out so that they get adequate sun, and one is always looking its best without dropping a lot of leaves everywhere. And this gets south sun, so actually it gets pretty good exposure, and I'm happy about that. And then this basket I got at a thrift store in small town Oklahoma, and it was, I think, $10. And I saw one almost identical to it in an antique store for considerably more. Yes, I love it. You guys know that I brought my artwork with me. This used to hang in the dining room, and now it hangs in the parlor. I used to have, if you rewind back in time, I used to have 2 black metal lamps that had red shades on them that kind of picked up the overtones in those peaches. But because I wanted something a little bit lighter and brighter and more massive, I got a blue, white, and brass lamp, and I bought this online, and I will provide the link. It was not prohibitively expensive. And then I just really kind of matched it with some of the other blue and white pieces I have. Now, Stuart,
I noticed the other day.
you noticed the other day that
I was sitting over here and I looked this way.
Yeah, that, yes, this time of year, I like to have a blue bowl here with peaches in it that I just love that echo of what is a still life brought to life.
Well, yeah, out of the corner of my eye, it looked like the painting had spilled off of the painting onto
Yes,
the table. And
I,
thought
I
was
love
really
that.
Beautiful.
Yes, I love that. This is also a thrift store find. It was a plant stand. If you look closely, you can kind of see that it's a plant stand, but I turned it upside down because I wanted to nestle
What a neat little weave to make that little center.
one of these seagrass baskets in. And I kind of love the way they look, and I love the way that the continuity of this seagrass matches not only the aura of this room, but also this time of year, my hats and bags and things that I have on my hat and coat rack. That is here and gives kind of a vertical element. There was great talk about this closet, and I went for practicality on that. I still have some shelves that need to be hung in there, and I will do that, but not today. And then something that I love little things that are accessories and jewelry for the interior of my home. And this little hat rack, I think, or coat rack very much is a fun little accessory, and I will definitely, if I can find it, will try to provide this link.
Because I need one of those.
You need one of these too, and I love the way that it echoes the other brass appointments that I have not only in the room, but that I have in the kitchen and in other areas. Now, I believe I have shown, this may be one of the best-selling items that I have ever recommended. I personally have bought 4 of them. These little campaign tables. I got these online, and I think they're like, I can't even remember, about $70 to $80, something like that. This one was gold, and I did put a black patina on it because I wanted to age it a little bit. And I just love how practical they are, and I love their good looks. I love the footed feet that they have. And I like that this hint of brass that comes through plays off of the other brass accessories and small things that I have in this room, including, and this my husband loves, actually both my Jamies, both my young Jamie and my big Jamie love this just little cocktail table, because this space is really too crowded to have any kind of larger furniture item to hold your cocktail, your whatever. This is just perfect. It's large enough to hold a book, a cup of tea, any kind of beverage. And again, I like the fact that it resonates and is consonant with the other things in this room. So over here, I've showed you this before. This, this has had so many different lives, this piece of furniture. I got it at an antique store, I believe. I can't even really remember. Many years ago, it used to be in my office at the other house. It held my printer. For a while, I had it holding jewelry and things in my closet until I thought, oh, this would really look good out here. And I like the way this heavy metal work looks with the metal of the campaign table. And it was just the perfect size for this location. So this is just, I think of this as a very utilitarian but beautiful space. So if I am entertaining, so for example today, if you were really here, I would have those peach bellinis probably staged right here. And as you came in, I would give you one. And of course, no vignette would be complete for me without a topiary. This, you guys, was one of the $4 topiaries that I found at Walmart. And I repotted it, and I've been giving it some love. And the nice thing is, all I have to do in the mornings, if it wants to be outside, is I just put it out on the front porch for a little while, and then I can bring it back in. I love the formality that it gives to this room. I love that it's a signature statement of mine, and I just love the way that it looks right here. I so loved this tray.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I love this tray. And in fact, I've ordered another one, and now I think I'm going to order another one because my kiddos have just bought a house. Actually, they've just moved in. I know a place that I think this would look brilliant. So I think I'm going to order another one of these. And if it comes in round, maybe in the round form. But I love it. And then the other thing, this was definitely my nod to beautiful utility. And what I have found, I thought it would be just me that used this mirror primarily, because Stuart and I are always shooting. I'm always checking my calic and checking to see if I look sweaty or anything like that in the mirror. But what I have found is so many other people have been using it. So when they come in, it's real windy. They stand here. They kind of comb their hair. It's really been wonderful. Even the guys. And you know, I'm a big hat person. So if I'm wanting to position my hat correctly at just the right angle, just the right jaunty angle on my head, I can do that. And then I had this out.
Hey, it gets hot.
This was a favor that was at the wedding in Virginia, and I loved that. I love the way it looks. So this is very practical. I wanted a beautiful mirror here, but that wasn't too overwhelming and too large. And I also thought that I wanted it to be something that was rather transitional. I didn't want to hang one here in the event that I wanted to morph this corner in a different way. So I just got this size so I could lean it up against the wall, and it does just what I want it to do. And it also reflects the outdoors, and it also reflects my beautiful diamond windows. So I like that, and it creates even more light in here than I had before. And then it felt like I wasn't getting enough verticality to match the verticality on the other side of the entry. So I hung this thrifted find that I got on one of our sojourns.
Oh yeah.
That we videoed, and I love this, and I love the fact that it's coloring and it's brass. It's nod to brass metallic frame, kind of, again, communicates with the rest of the room, I think, in kind of a beautiful way. So Stuart, what do you say we take a little break here? So I don't forget to blow out all of my candles. I'm going to snuff this last candle in this room, and then how about we move on to the kitchen? Okay, Stuart, before we get all sorts of comments on, for goodness sake, Linda, why do you have a nasty fly swatter
Oh, let's check it out.
on top of this great rattan tray? It's because I just put it together. It is brand new. And pretend like it's not a fly swatter, because doesn't it look just brilliant there? But what I love about it, talk about elevating the ordinary, romancing the ordinary. I had just like you guys do, just a nasty old plastic and wire fly swatter that I had hanging in a convenient location, but it was just ugly. And I just didn't like it. So even something as practical as a fly swatter can be beautiful. And I saw this, I got it at Shop Good, which is just a local store. I believe it was either Urbane or Shop Good. And I just loved it. Now, yes, was it a little bit more expensive than the $1.99 version you could get anywhere? Yes, but the fact is, in a small space, what you have, even if it is strictly functional, I think can be beautiful. And I love this. I love it. It's one of my favorite things, a fly swatter.
Somebody out there is thinking
Is
the
one
same
of my
thing I am.
favorite things. Yes,
What's it gonna
a
look like?
leather fly swatter.
After a few swats.
So, well, what I'll do is I will sterilize after each swat, or I will wipe it down after each swat. And you know what? That's okay. It will get.
It is beautiful.
It will get some fly patina on it.
Hey, there you
It will
man.
get some fly patina
whole
on
new
it.
patina,
Yes,
yeah.
and I can squirt it with a little bit of alcohol or something. It wasn't that expensive.
Hey,
So
who knows? Maybe it'll get just infinitely more beautiful.
infinitely
every
more
swat.
beautiful. Yes, yes. But I do really love it. And you know what? What a great housewarming gift this
No,
would
it is,
make.
yeah.
If you were going to
It's
go
cool.
stay with somebody for the summer at their lake house or something, I think it's beautiful. You could even give it, as a
It does
gift.
look good on the basket.
It does look good on the basket. So the basket, by the way, I just got recently at Walmart, and I'll see if I can find a link. I think it was only about $24, but it's great for entertaining. It's great for when I want to carry things indoors and out to the social patio or whatever. And I do love it. Now, if you were here and I was offering you a Bellini, I would not pour it over melted ice. But I have ice in these glasses because this was a great trick that I saw when I was, sitting at a bar in Alexandria, Virginia. And that is, we had ordered, Hubs had ordered a martini, and I had ordered, I can't remember what I had ordered, maybe, I can't remember. But they set out our glasses before us. And while we were looking at the menu and things like that, they filled to the very brim, as these once were. They filled our glasses. I think I had a Cosmopolitan and he had a martini. And they filled our martini glasses with ice all the way to the brim. And they sat there and they chilled themselves so that by the time they made the martini and the Cosmopolitan, the glasses were perfectly cold. Feel this, Stuart. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
See
good.
how cold it is? Yeah. And I think that is such a classy touch. Plus, I think it looks kind of beautiful. So then, obviously, I would also have my pink Prosecco Rosé Bellini. I would have this chilled for you also. This came from Trader Joe's. It was very expensive. I love this color. I love the way it looks. Along.
Did you say it was very expensive?
Did I say expensive?
I think you said expensive and
inexpensive.
There you go. I think that was probably.
You guys know what I mean. Very expensive is typically not in my vocabulary, in my wheelhouse. But I love the way it looks with some of my table linen. So it's fun to be inspired by something as decadent as a bottle of champagne or a bottle of Bellini, to go along and be the muse for whatever table linens you choose. So I then also like the fact that shortly after we bought the house, I found these marble coasters because I am trying to protect my honed marble surface. And Stuart, we're going to do a future video on caring for honed marble and some things that I have found to help with etching and staining, and we will do a whole video on that, or at least a short video on that for the future. But I like these because they just harmonize beautifully with the tabletop. And then everybody who comes here, Stuart, you, my team, people, they know that they always sit on the counter, so then they just take them to whatever location they need. And I think that's just a fun appointment. And then another signature touch that I have shared very, very extensively is that on the corner of my island, I always like to have some kind of massive flower arrangement. In this case, it is peonies, and these are from
I'm going to guess it's Trader Joe's.
Trader Joe's. Though last week I did buy some from a pop-up florist, and they're beautiful. Peonies don't grow well in most gardens in Oklahoma, but these are beautiful, and I couldn't resist them. And they have been here for, 5 days, and they're still lasting, and I just periodically change out the water and recut the stems, but I think they're beautiful, and I've had this container for a very, very long time, and because I don't want it to stain the countertop, I have it sitting on
Marble coaster.
Yes, a marble.
Does it spin?
It does not, well, it can. But it's kind of a marble trivet, if you will, or plant, which I also got at a thrift store. So I'm always looking for those kinds of things that are beautiful and practical. I can use it in a myriad of ways. And then because I'm also trying to protect my countertops, I got this bamboo cutting board. I can keep it right here by the refrigerator. It's very, very handy. I like it because it can capture drippings. I can put things out here to defrost or whatever.
It's big,
and
too.
yeah, and it's very large, it's lightweight, and it's easy to clean. And I like
at
the
that.
way it looks.
Little section for something on the side there too.
Yeah. And I got, this is also something that I got. You just push it down. I showed this before, I think in one of my favorite products. You just put some dish soap in the bottom, push it like that, and then I can scrub things out that your hubs have dropped in the sink after dining. Now, one thing, not all is always happy in the cottage on the hill. And one thing that has become very apparent to me, it was apparent to me before we bought the house, but is increasingly apparent to me right now. And that is, this is a one-tush kitchen or a one-butt kitchen.
The width.
Yeah, especially if you are married to a big guy, and my husband is a big guy. And so when we're both in here trying to navigate this space, it can be problematic. Now, one thing that I am, and please, if you've got some comments, put them below. I love the way you guys come up with ideas to make my life easier. So one thing that I have started doing, a lot of times when I have found that he is in my way, is in the evening, he has a cocktail almost every night, don't judge him, but he makes his G&T almost every night, and frequently that's when I'm making dinner, so then he'll come in here and he will want to get ice out of the freezer, and he'll want to get stuff out of the refrigerator, and he'll want to graze a little bit, and I won't lie, it's really irritating to me. So I'm starting to think about things that I can do to get him out of this space, and not only him, but really anyone else, if I'm going to be cooking or whatever, that will get us out of this very congested corner. So a couple things that I have done is I now have a second cutting board, so I can have a second cutting board that can be used over here, or it can be used over here if there's two cooks in the kitchen, or on any corner of the island. The other thing that I've started to do is I'm trying to be, I've never been accused of being a 50s housewife, but in this respect, maybe it's because I've been watching too much Mad Men reruns, but I thought, you know what I need to do is late in the afternoon, when I'm typically having my afternoon cup of tea, I need to just go ahead and fill the ice bucket up with ice, set out his stuff, set out his limes, spoil him rotten.
There you go.
And then he can come over here or to the bar in the great room to make his cocktail, and he's kind of not in my way. And I think that's true of pretty much all beverages. So now I'm going to be thinking about that if I have guests, get them out of this zone and into other areas of the cottage that are every bit as amenable to that. So for example, over here, don't you love this? This is a salvaged wine bottle. You guys know how I like to salvage wine bottles. So I could make some of my jasmine tea or whatever. I can have it in here. I can have ice in the ice bucket, glasses at the ready. So when someone comes in and I want to offer them some iced tea or whatever, I have this all set up over here. And again, nobody is in this crucial congested zone. This table I bought online, and I love its clean lines and its practicality, especially because I can put things underneath it. So this may look like a seagrass basket to you, but in its other life, it is where I temporarily hold my recycled things that need to go to the recycling bin outside. So this is where cardboard, old mail, wine bottles, Stewart's, whenever Stuart comes, he
I
typically
did a good job of
has,
trying to hide that this
yeah,
time.
yeah, he typically has a cold drink, and I can put it in here, and then later in the evening or in the morning I can empty it out. And then I have a couple of different stepping stools that I find ever so necessary. This is one of them, and I have
I
another.
like the little storage space under there.
Yeah, I do.
right,
Yeah, there's a
yeah.
little storage space under here.
That's really
I
cool.
just love it. Maybe that's where my fly swatter will live. So, and I love the way the blue picks up the blue in this oil painting. This lamp I got from Mockingbird Manor. The stools I got from Grandin Road. They took a long time to get here, but they are They are brilliant. And these I think will really get a lot of use when my kiddos are here and we're all cooking in the kitchen and people are sitting here visiting, and whoever is cooking is over here chopping, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's really fun. It took me a while to style these little cubbies in here because I just kept trying to force something on them. I kept trying to force all the language of this white porcelain or the kind of more masculine vibe of some of these heftier pottery pieces because I thought the two just didn't work together. And then I thought, oh, for goodness sake, quit being so fastidious. It's perfectly fine. And you can do both. So I have some of my cookbooks that I use frequently set out here. And then over here in this corner, I have some other pieces that I use, maybe with less regularity. And I love the way my Christian Dior china perfectly matches the green in this wonderful print that I got online. I think I got that on eBay. I love that. So lastly, in the kitchen, Stuart, is there anything else I have forgotten? Oh, let me show you this, and then I'll show you a couple of other things because I know you're going to ask. I have done a big feng shui in here. Stuart, do you remember the last time you looked at this?
I think
and it
so,
was
yeah.
absolute chaos, and there were cords and things just everywhere. Well, I now give you the reveal of my TV in here.
Looking good.
And I have to say, it's considerably improved because of a streamlined power cord product that I got that I will show you a little bit later. I think we need to do a kind of a product video. I know some people love them, some people hate them, but again, I'm all about making our lives easier, and this definitely has made my life easier. And also in here, I have a secondary ice bucket in case I want to carry that out to the social patio, and then more of the cookbooks that I use pretty frequently. And then this is hung here, and I can pull it out and I can torque it if I want to watch while I am cooking, or if we want to watch something while we're dining at the table in the banquette. So I really do like that, and I think it's really fun. And then when we're not watching it, because I really don't like the look of TVs, I can just hide it away and no one will know the better. And then over here, there was great, and if you want to go back, if you haven't watched any of these, and if you don't know the history, as important as it is, of the cottage, then you can go back and watch. We've got a whole playlist on the cottage, and from when we moved in and its evolution over time. But there was quite hoopla over where to put my beverage cart, my coffee cart. I got this at Mockingbird Manor in Stuart. It was just like $80 or something. And I do love it. It has lived in different locations in the kitchen, and now it pretty much permanently resides here. So I can either put a large coffee pot, or when we're not having guests, I can just have a single Keurig here with my mugs. I got these online and I love them. Several people have asked about them, so we'll try to provide a source. And then down here, I can just hide in here in these seagrass baskets. I can hide all of my coffee, what are those called?
K-cups.
K-cups and my tea bags and things. But this is also kind of brilliant. In this other basket, look what I have hidden.
All the cables.
All the cables. I've got my modem. I've got a speaker in there, but it can all come through that seagrass basket. And then they kind of are all hidden because I have my seagrass placemats here at the ready that I can then just set the table with. So it's all about easy living, not necessarily expensive. And this is a new acquisition that I just love because I found this corner to be a little bit dark because I didn't want an art light over that, and there's not a plethora of outlets over here. So I decided that, especially in the evenings, I needed a light source here. So I got this brass lamp
I like
online.
the
Don't you like
base
it?
or whatever you call that.
Yeah, yeah. I just love how sleek it is. And it looks good. And in the morning, when you're not fully awake and you don't want to turn on any lights that are just too much, then I can turn these on. Now, one other thing that I wanted to show you before we leave the kitchen. And by the way, a lot of you have asked about these massive, massive cutting boards that I got. These were the gift from my realtor when we bought the house, but I have seen them in a number of other places. You can buy them online, but I love the way they look, as I love the way my little pepper plants look here, which is one of the advantages of growing your peppers in pots, and certainly production has not been sacrificed by container gardening. And these were in the back, and will be in the future, and what I anticipate when the back gets finished as my pepper theater, where I will have a plant stand filled with all sorts of peppers. So I love that, but in the short term, I think they look great in the kitchen.
They do.
Don't they look kind of fun? Okay, but this is truly is the last thing I wanted to point out to you, because the reason that you're seeing this show on a Monday versus another day of the week is because we lost our power yesterday. Night before last, a huge thunderstorm came through, and we lost our power pretty early in the evening, and it was out until I think 2:30 yesterday afternoon. Was yesterday Sunday? Yesterday
Yes.
afternoon. So because of that, we really couldn't shoot. It got dark in here. It was pretty warm too, because the air conditioner wasn't working. But something that did work, that were just brilliant and lifesavers, were
Ooh, they're
these
battery
motion activated under counter lights that I have told you about before. And consequently, I thought, okay, I'm going to get more of them for other areas in the house that we need access to when the power goes out, as it frequently does in these old houses and with the severe ice storms that we get here. So I am going to get more of these. Did you see how that just came on?
Yep.
And I'm not wasting electricity because they're not always on. So these have been brilliant, as have these little battery operated lamps, which may be second only to the little campaign tables for the things you guys ask for the link to most. And
cool.
I have 4 or 5 of these. I love them. They're touch on, touch off, and they are rechargeable. So these were also great when we had a power outage. So I think if I have not absolutely just bored you to tears, that is a little rundown of the parlor and the kitchen. I think we will save. Stuart, what do you think? Should we save some other locations for another day?
I mean, yeah, we could do that.
Okay, we'll save another location for another day. And a lot of you will probably ask about my ensemble. So my outfit of the day is something that I thrifted, and some of you might recognize it because I got it for the Singaporean wedding last year. And I wore it there, and I wear it now with these coolie pants because they're just lightweight and comfortable.
Love the color.
Because it is hot as the dickens out. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this tour of the parlor and the kitchen, and we'll visit the other spaces a little bit later. Well, hello everyone. For part 2 of my cottage tour, make sure to stay to the very end, because I've made kind of a major decision that a lot of you have been asking me about, and I'll share the answer to that riveting question at the end of this video. Well, we broke this up into 2 parts because I was probably just wearing you into a bloody nub. But I really wanted to share with you. I promised to show you all of the details and how it came together and how so much of it can be done very inexpensively. Some of you have asked. I got these at Anthropology, by the way, so if you ask, and I will try to find a link. So now let's go off of the kitchen and into probably the only kind of hallway. I don't even think of it as a hallway in the house. And this is just a brilliant space planning thing because it is an area that's large enough that I can use for pieces of furniture with storage in them, but that also then serves as kind of a portal to other different rooms. So first of all,
Let's start over here since I'm here.
okay, so this, I have had this, I love campaign furniture, and I've had this chest of drawers forever. It lived at the top of the stairs at the other house, and I just love it.
Beautiful piece.
This is a real retro ashtray, and we don't smoke, but it's here as an homage to my grandparents to whom it belonged, and also because I just love the way it looks with the lamp here, and then with the orange that's really captured from the painting. A lot of you wanted to know where I got this very thin console table. And I found this, I got it online, and does it look like it's been custom made for this space?
It does kind of, yeah, right.
It just really brilliantly fits this space. I love it. And it's very, very narrow, so it doesn't in any way impede passage into the bedroom, but it also kind of fills what would otherwise just be a blank wall here. And it's also a place where you can just kind of set stuff down as you need to, as you come and go. This is another example of where a candle that before it was lit, I should have trimmed the wick. So, no, the party's not over. We've got more to look at, but I am going to blow those out.
Safety first.
Safety first. The rugs I had at the other house, and then in the bedroom, this is the same rug that is in the parlor. So I believe I didn't have to modify this rug. I brought it from the other house. It fit in here really, really well. The chest of drawers had been in the guest bedroom, or what used to be the boys' old bedroom when they were growing up. And the candle holder is a thrifted find. Canyon de Chez is just a beloved piece of artwork. And then something that has also been, everybody asks about, including my kiddos, and that's these battery-operated painting lights. Including my kiddos, Mom put
Tell them
those
to
on
watch the channel, kids.
Watch the channel. Where did I get those? So that will be on their Christmas list, I am sure. And then
This guy's still going, or is this what's?
Well, I did. Oh, I should tell you about this. So we did a video of Phoebe putting together this orchid arrangement. We did it in January, and it was only 2 weeks ago that I had to switch out the orchids, and I never watered them. That's how well cared for they were at Calvert's. Wow. And I just loved the way this looks, so I replaced them with white ones, and I think it looks really beautiful. It gets lots of bright light. The other pieces in here are things that we just had, that we brought from the old house. I do, yes, if you will ask, I still love my birch mattress. Would get it again in a heartbeat. Just love it, and I love the fact that I put it up on top of box springs, so it makes this room look like it's got kind of kind of a Eurasian vibe to it. I hate the word colonial, but I love the way it looks, kind of an East Indian vibe. And then the other pieces, I just had all of the shades. I showed you those before. All of the shades I bought online, and I had somebody just come and hang them for me. Some of them are a little bit askew. These prints I got at Mockingbird Manor. I think I got the entire set for maybe $45. I've had those for years. And then the other pieces in here belong to my second mom. The table, the blanket rack, those were pieces that I had, and we just made work here. And I'm still doing a little bit of furniture shuffling because a piece of furniture doesn't immediately find its home. But I think that at least for now, that's what I love about pieces that are portable. At least for now, they are here, and I'm content with where they are. And the two bedside tables that don't match, one is actually a small desk. I got these at a secondhand store.
You guys are at Stonehenge there, huh?
Yeah, we're at Stonehenge there. Here's my beautiful family. My beautiful boys. This is going to make me cry. My beautiful boys when they were little, standing in front of the great big oak tree.
That the thing was made out of.
That the bowl was made out of, yes. Now, the bathroom, I'll show you this. The bathroom can be closed off because at one time it was a porch. It can be closed off for privacy. It is still in a state of transition because I've got some decorative touches that are still in the works, and we're waiting to decide on them. But finally, if you have followed along for any length of time, you remember lights, camera action.
Boom, there we go.
Yeah, you may remember that I had a hard time getting hot water to my bathtub, but that was remedied. Don't pay attention to my shower because I have to laugh sometimes. We really do live here. And so those people sometimes make comment, oh, it'd look better if that wasn't in the background or if that wasn't. Well, we do live here.
Yeah.
And it is.
Just remember.
Yeah, it is not always perfect. But the big thing I'm waiting on here is a huge grid, gallery wall grid of photos by my dear friend Deborah. And I'm deciding on which of her photographs I want to use. So we're working through that. This is just a glimpse at some of them, but this entire wall will be filled with them. And yes, this is that, I had to put this here as kind of a touch point to the pastor because this is something that I found thrifted.
I remember what it looked like before. So.
Yeah, and periodically, do I light the candelabra when I take a bath? You bet I do. Because why wouldn't I?
Why not, right?
Yes, why wouldn't I? And then there's great light in here.
Look at that beautiful look outside.
Yes, look at that view outside.
All the colors out there.
Oh, and there was great debate over whether or not you could see inside at night, even with the shade down. Mm-hmm. But no, you cannot see in at night. And someone also said, well, Linda, when you're outside, it's white, and the white doesn't really look good when the shade is down. You should change it to black. Well, that might get really hot. And also, these are not inexpensive to put in these kind of battery-operated fancy shades.
Fancy.
So I just need to remember, it's one thing Stuart and I have to remember when we shoot is to always put the blind up, because it really does make a huge difference when you're shooting back towards the cottage. Really makes a big difference. So there are just other appointments that need to be made in here, but I did get a chair online so that after I get out of the tub, I can lather on my oils and beauty potions and things like that. So we love the bathroom, and I sometimes, yes, feel like I'm at a resort when I am in there. So, but it's not all relaxation and play and bathing to candlelight, Stuart. Sometimes you have to work. And so, when I have to work, I come to my wonderful office where I can work at my desk and I can look out the window and see the kids go
I had to get the lights up.
to and from school. It's got, again, great light in here.
And this is the path they walk.
And then, oh yes, it is the path that they walk. And then all of my gardening
look
books.
At that. That's a pretty look.
What's that?
I'm looking down. Have you named this walkway yet?
Well, I need to name that walkway. It will probably, yes, it will probably be the Great White Way or something, because all of that is white along there, white encore azaleas and white hydrangeas. And then these are my IKEA bookshelves that I filled with books that I do refer to all of the time. And I've asked you this question before, but I'm going to ask it again because I find it so telling and so fascinating. How do you organize your library? How do you organize your books? Do you color coordinate them? If you have a true library, do you categorize them by topic, geographically, by genre, or whatever? And I'm speaking as somebody who is really a bibliophile, and Hubs and I have way too many books. We got rid of a lot of them, but these are some of my favorite ones.
Well, color coordinating books is a cool thing to me.
Well, yeah, it's just fun. It's just fun. It might seem
Deborah's was really neat. Wasn't it Deborah?
Yeah, Deborah really does
upstairs?
it. My friend Deborah, who's a
really
great
cool.
photographer, she really does it. But I think it's fun. It's
cool.
just a fun
It
thing
looks
to do.
really neat, yeah.
Yeah, it costs nothing.
Yeah,
it costs nothing, and decorating can be fun. And then whatever is kind of my book muse for the moment or for the week is typically in this book stand right here. And right now I am just musing on this image in this book. But next week it might be another image. And this is a way where you really use, there's some, look out there. There's some people waving to us
Maybe they'll go
while we're
watch.
shooting. Yeah, yeah. They know to always drive. People drive by so slowly, just in case. But I can have a book out here for easy reference, and sometimes it's not always images. Sometimes I read poetry or I read different things, and I will have it there for reference if it's something that I really want to cogitate on. It's kind of fun for me. And then my messy bulletin board, we're not even going to really look at it.
Uh-oh.
But I'm still in the process of this.
She told us not to. We're doing it anyway.
And we're doing it anyway because I'm really wanting it to be more functional, where I really post our upcoming ideas.
Yes,
And I have, and it's still a work in progress. It's still a work in progress.
I think it's always a work in progress.
Everything
right?
is always a
point.
work in progress. Yes,
Especially
everything is a
that
work in
wall.
progress. So, and this is where I keep. This is also. I've got a little private bulletin board back here, which you don't see, where I keep. Sometimes.
Kind of see it.
No,
It's
I
blurry.
said it was private, Stuart. It's private. Where sometimes I post some of the letters and messages that you give me that really inspire me. And if I'm having a bad day,
Hey.
I can just look at one of those, and you guys.
It works
kinda
both
pump me
ways,
up,
doesn't it? Yeah.
Pump me up. So, and gosh, Stuart, we would be remiss if we did not show the
Oh, yeah.
brilliant, this brilliant
It's pretty cool.
switch plate.
Trying to get where I can see the color difference in
That
the
my friend
the
Jan,
topiary, 'cause you-
that my friend Jan made for me. Love you, Jan. Love you, darling. And I just hung that here recently. So there you go. So this is my workspace. If you see anything and you want a source for it, to the best of my ability, I got this from Home Depot. Just the perfect size, and I really was channeling things that would match the lightwood floors, which I have really loved. I think the rug I bought online years ago, and I bought these little stools also online, because sometimes Stuart will tell you when we're both working on the computer or whatever, one of us, usually
We need
me, can
more
be on a
places to
stool or
sit.
whatever. It gives more places to sit, or when we have meetings in here. So they're functional, and I think they're kind of cute. So now let's go to what I consider more my husband's part of the house that people are always kind of surprised. It was funny to me, Stuart, the other day when Leah was here, I thought she'd gotten a complete tour of the cottage, and she hadn't. And so when we went to the back, she was going, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know any of this was back here." So let's go back there. Well, this week I'm reflecting back on what I learned, and it was very much informed by the fabulous trip that we took to Virginia for my son Johnny's wedding. It was just incredible. And it's not something it's not something that I didn't already know, but let's just say it was a really, really wonderful, beautiful reminder. And that is the importance of showing up. Showing up for people for different occasions, be they big or small, to be a good friend, to be supportive, to demonstrate your love for those people, and they then in kind will feel compelled to demonstrate their love for you, even though sometimes it's kind of inconvenient, or you have to travel, or you sometimes may not be feeling up to it, and nevertheless, you always feel better after you make the effort. And it's one thing that I'm so proud that my parents, and maybe even more importantly, my brothers and sisters instilled in me, and that is the value of showing up. And even if you can't show up in person, there are different ways that you can show up virtually, with a phone call, with a message, with a letter, with even word of mouth. Please let someone know that you're thinking about them. And so I think that when I was looking at the tremendous gathering there in the beautiful Virginia horse country and the rolling hills of the Virginia countryside, and the wedding was just, there were so many people from literally all around the world, so many different types of people. I don't know how many languages were spoken. It was absolutely incredible, and it very much demonstrated how important the couple was to those of us who were there in attendance from literally all around the world. And so next time, if you're like me and you feel a little bit lazy, or you're kind of a homebody and you're thinking, oh, do I really want to drag myself out in the heat or in the cold? Then just remind yourself of the importance of showing up. So the back of the house is more Hub's area. It is where he has his closet, his bathroom, all of that kind of thing. He tends to be a little bit less tidy than I am. So to save our marriage, he is in a different, he kind of keeps that stuff in a different space. So this is our guest bedroom. And if I could find another place for the treadmill, I would, but heretofore I have not. So it houses the treadmill. We do have a TV in here so that we can exercise and walk simultaneously. This room has its own guest bath, which is still in the process of being set up. We put black IKEA bookcases in here. The drapes, and you'll notice this has a real masculine vibe. And that's predominantly because most of the people that are in here are men. So if Hubs is in the doghouse, gets kicked out, he has to sleep in here. But my boys, when they come to visit, they stay in here with their brides, but a lot of times they're here by themselves. And so this room has a little bit more of a masculine vibe, and it's also where my husband can have many of his books and showcase some of his things, his fly fishing interest and other things that are important to him.
And that's where Stuart comes to steal the guitar when
And
Linda's
Stuart
taking too
comes
long.
to play the guitar when I am being tardy and it's taking me too long to get things set up. There's a guitar here and Stuart sits down and he plays us on and off. Now I am going to show you these great lamps because I did get these online.
Oh, those are cool. I didn't even notice them.
And no, these are great. They're just touch on
It's
and
hollow?
off.
It's not like glass behind it? It's on wires?
This is just,
So
they are hollow.
I gotta come see. It's
Yeah,
neat looking.
no, they are just hollow. This is just woven. This is just woven.
That's pretty cool.
And then they're touch on and off. But more importantly, at their base, now I can't find it, but at their base in the back, look at this, Stuart.
Oh, USB chargers.
There's USB chargers.
Like the hotels.
So the guests, yes. So when they come, the kiddos,
Is there room service to go with the
There's
USB
not room
chargers?
service to go with it. Though I take that back. When my boys come, I spoil them rotten. So yes, I guess sometimes it does come with room service. But they don't then have to ask me for a
it's
charger
just
or
ready to
whatever.
go.
They immediately know where they can hook up their charger so they don't steal mine. So this is the guest bedroom. And then this room, whose composition was probably the most controversial when we first moved in, because it was all about the TV. Because this is when we're watching dedicated TV, which is not very often. We're not big TV watchers. Then we watch it in here. And there was great controversy about where to put the TV so that I didn't want it above the mantle, though we talked about it. We talked about just different placements of it. And let's just say, if you want to find out about that, go back and watch a previous video we had with my friend John Turman. But this proved to be just the perfect spot, because everybody can kind of hang out in here and watch whatever it is they want to watch. But also because you can see that there is a glare here. And some of you were concerned about that. I don't remember ever watching during the day when glare has been a problem. That just, so it's a non-issue. And I guess if there is a glare, then you just would move to another couch where the glare wasn't so intense. If we're watching, I guess, maybe football in the fall,
That's how I
or
did it my
sports or
entire
things.
life.
Yeah. So I just, so it just wasn't, it was just not an issue. My friend John helped us compose the gallery wall that I just love,
really well done, yeah.
which is a nod to our love for travel, to my husband's geographical literacy, to our love of some of the places we've been. We honeymooned in Africa, things like that. And then it's also just got kind of a Selena Crawford, Jill Sharp, Ralph Lauren, Ernest Hemingway vibe, which we both love and which my husband feels very comfortable in. And there's also a lot of references also to Native American culture.
Oh, you
and
know
things.
what? I don't think I ever noticed you got that hung up over there.
Yeah, we hung that up.
I remember a long time ago when we were about to.
You may remember that there was some question about where to hang the other beaded Indian pieces above it. And it just never looked right to me until I started playing around with it. And now it looks
It just
on antlers wings or something like that.
It's really neat because my eye wasn't drawn to it, but I know what it is, and I know
how
it's
it's
just
hung.
so
It's-
neat that it's there,
yeah,
and you
it's-
don't necessarily see it right off the
Right.
bat.
It's really pretty incredible. And then the books in here are books that my husband is somewhat of an anthropologist and a pre-Columbian historian. So a lot of those books are in here, and a lot of his really, really special things. And I think I referenced that my brother-in-law was a naturalist, and before anybody gets mad, he had friends that worked at the San Francisco Zoo, and when animals would expire or things like that, then they preserved some of the skins and some of the skulls, and that's how he acquired them. Was not a hunter, and he didn't go out and do that. But he was a great traveler. So there's that. It is a wood-burning fireplace. I don't spend a lot of time in this room, partly because it's a room for sitting. I'm always outside, and I imagine I'll spend more time in it when the back garden is finished. But but I don't sit very often, and I don't watch TV very often, so there's not a lot of reasons for me to be in this room. I also think of it more as a fall and a winter room, because it's got a wood-burning fireplace, and I noticed that in the winter we did use it a lot more. Now, my husband, he hangs out in here all of the time. So it's got his dad.
This is where I go to find him when I need to.
Oh, yeah. It's got his dad chair here, and this is where he really likes to hang out and to nap and things like that. But I really just love it. I've always loved the Ralph Lauren aesthetic, And as you can see, and I think that it kind of speaks to that, to our love of travel and things. And Stuart, you can get a glimpse of the outdoor garden, though we're making progress, at least in the planning stages.
Gotta love those big windows.
We're making progress, and we do have new windows ordered, so that they're casement windows that we'll be able to roll open, because my husband really likes to feel fresh air, that we will roll open in the fall, when I anticipate the garden in the back will be just about finished. But we're still playing with that, and it's kind of a holy mess right now, but that's okay, because it's supposed to get up in the hundreds next week, Stuart. So I think I'm gonna hold off on any more planting until it cools down a bit. And when it does cool down, this is where we will really be hanging. Some keys to this look, I think, are the dark woods with the contrast of the white walls. I love the fact that there's greenery in here. There were a number of places in Singapore that we went to that had this vibe, the Raffles Hotel being one of them. So I love the greenery in here. I love like the orchids. This fabulous basket I got is an African basket, but I got it at Mockingbird Manor. And then this is just a very masculine room, and this is where we have our bar. So I guess this is what do you call where the men will go and have their brandy and their cigars or whatever in the evening. That's kind of this vibe, though we women crash it whenever we want to. So that is the second half of the cottage. I'm sorry we had to kind of break it up into two different parts, but let me know your thoughts if you think it came together well, what you like, even what you don't like. I've often said that there's just many, many forms of beauty, and the most important thing is that it's a form of beauty that appears to you. The cottage contains many of our signature touches, my love of topiary, my love of greenery, our love of travel, just things, things of that nature, lots of photographs. The two rooms that are still works in progress are the back bathroom off of the guest bedroom and my laundry room, which I will reveal to you in July. Right now, don't reveal it now.
They can kind of see it, right?
It just looks like a big closet now. It's where I stashed a bunch of stuff so we could do the shoot.
I was like, oh crap, I'm showing.
Yeah, don't show it, Stuart. But I will reveal that to you once I get the built-ins in place and all of that. But I will also end on this note. At almost every juncture along the way, at various decision points, I went with something that was simpler, that was more streamlined, and that was less. And so here's some big news that I'm going to reveal now. And that is something that I've decided, a big decision that I made. I am not going to get a greenhouse. I've decided that the back is just too small for it. It would be one more thing for me to take care of. I don't have the space to do it justice. And I think I can live without it. I can continue to take advantage of my friend that does have a greenhouse. And the other thing is a lot of things at my other home I couldn't bring in the winter because it was so dark. In this house, I have so much better light that some of these plants I'll be able to bring in the winter.
That's true.
But I have decided that it was more important for me to have the outdoor area in the back be very much an outdoor large living room for entertaining and things, and I will just play in a greenhouse kind of way in other areas. So that is my big decision that I made, and there you go. I wanted to share it with you here first. Thanks for taking this tour with me. You guys have a great week.